Hope you're all doing really well. Pogba for Ligt as Manchester United enter the race to bring Ligt to Manchester United again. We'll be talking about that. There's been some developments about Grealish. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer has been speaking today. And on top of that, Robin van Persie with a very, very interesting quote, which we're talking about in a moment as well. But look, you know what? I just want to apologise first of all. I'm a little bit late if you're watching the live stream tonight. And I know I'm late a lot, but I am late tonight and it shouldn't have happened. Problem with the light, so I apologise for those people who are watching live and appreciate your patience. But look, this is interesting, isn't it? I said this morning on the transfer show that there's an interesting aspect. There's loads of interesting aspects in relation to football at the moment. But if you look at this, and this might be a theme that runs through the show today. If you look at transfers, they don't just happen when the season closes. You don't finish your last game against Leicester and go, ooh, let's log on Football Manager or FIFA, like I've said before. And you know, these deals have been worked on for a long time. And how advanced they are, you'll be surprised how advanced some of these deals are. So there's lots going on. The latest, and that will be a theme that I revisit in a minute. But the thing I would say about this is that with regards to De Ligt and Manchester United. Look, Mino Raiola is the two words I want to say straight away. De Ligt agent is Mino Raiola. We saw this the summer before. Was it last summer? De Ligt went to Juventus. We were in the race. We thought we were going to get him. Then it was definitely going to be Barcelona. Then it was going to be PSG. Then it was going to be us. Then it was Juventus. He basically flogged him around Europe, not literally in the old flogging way. I mean, he put him around Europe. He went with the most money. I don't think Juventus was the right fit for De Ligt. I'm not convinced Manchester United was the right fit. I think the best fit for him was the first club he was going to go to, Barcelona. Ajax to Barcelona, it's a well-trodden path. Dutch to Barcelona, it's a well-trodden path. He would have suited Barcelona down to the ground. I don't think he suits Juventus at 19 years of age, where you look at the history of Italian defenders that do well. They're battle-hardened centre-backs. You're talking your Nestas. You're talking your Bareses. You're talking your Koulibalys. You're talking your Chiellinis. And I don't think it ever suited De Ligt for that. Reddy HD says we need leader. Looking thick tonight, Mark. You're an inspiration, says Kevin Lopez. I don't know. Well, thanks, mate. But yeah, so look, De Ligt to Manchester United, where this is coming from. It's coming from quite a few outlets. I read it through ESPN. They didn't actually directly mention Pogba. Some people are, but De Ligt has not settled well at Juventus, and there is talk that they would be looking to move him on. You know what? I've got to say straight away, as a story, you've got to react to it. That's what we do, and I will give my honest opinion, of course. I don't disagree that Juventus might be looking to cash in on De Ligt. Juventus have spent a lot of money, and it's well known in the football circles that Juventus are concerned about what is going on with the global crisis, probably like a lot of clubs, but Juventus have made signings that are very much, they're sort of cashing your cheque before it's spending your money before it's actually gone into your account. And I think Juventus have done that quite rightly based on predictions. And those predictions may not come to pass because there's going to be a lot of lost revenue in football. So Juventus may need to spend to buy because of what's gone on. And De Ligt was a luxury. I don't think Juventus needed De Ligt. I don't. I think Juventus basically win the title every year. Do you need to go and buy a centre back? I don't think that you do. I don't think they needed to do it. I don't think De Ligt suited that situation. So if Juventus are looking to sell De Ligt, does he become somebody that United want to look at? Well, look, he's 20 years of age and he's excellent ball distribution. He's very good in the air, but he ain't particularly quick. I don't see. I'm gonna basically compartmentalise this into three things here. One, as a player, I don't think he suits Manchester United. I like Harry Maguire. The thing I don't like about Harry Maguire is he's not quick. Harry Maguire is good in the air and reasonable with the ball at his feet. De Ligt is better with the ball at his feet than Maguire. Maguire is better in the air, but neither of them are quick. I don't see why you get De Ligt when you've got Maguire. So that's one reason to rule it out. Two, I don't think a centre-back is a high priority for Manchester United this summer. I think a right winger, a midfielder and a striker are. So that's number two. I think it's money we don't need to spend, and also I imagine Juventus would want very good money. Three, Mino Raiola. I don't want to drink. If I'm going to bring a Mino Raiola client in, he better be better than De Ligt, and he better not be a centre back that I don't think we need. So for me, they're the three reasons this just does not get off the ground. A reason that could get it off the ground is Paul Pogba, and that's why it says Pogba for De Ligt transfer offer in there. Because I'm wondering if all this noise around De Ligt, which makes very little sense to me, is actually to do with Paul Pogba and Paul Pogba to Juventus. Because I've had a feeling for quite a while now that the real deal here is Pogba Juventus and not Pogba Real Madrid. And this is only a hunch. I've not been told this. I just feel when you look back at things, everybody assumes Zidane, Real Madrid, Pogba. I think Pogba Juventus. I do. Pogba's already proven that he'll go back somewhere because he liked it. He knows he's going to be loved at Juventus. Mino Raiola's got great connections in Italy and with Juventus. And I think that is the story we always keep getting. Juventus want to offer this player. Juventus want to offer that player. And I would ask you, would you want to see Pogba, De Ligt, part of a Pogba deal? Because for me, it's still a no. And I know there's a lot of people who'd be eager to get rid of Pogba. But why get rid of one of the world's best midfielders on paper to bring in a centre-back? I think, again, it's another no. It's another no for me. So it's a no because I think he's better than Maguire potentially, but I think they're too similar. We need a quick centre-back to play with Maguire, not a Maguire clone. The fee puts me off. Mino Raiola puts me off. And swapping him for Pogba puts me off as well. So it's a big fat no for me. Kevin O'Keefe says, "Hi, Mark. I'm same age as you and grew up with the likes of Cantona and Keane. I think Grealish is exactly the type of character we need. I'd even give him the number 7. Whoa! Well, we're talking about Grealish a little bit later, but that's quite a controversial one. Anaban Batshai says it's a no from me. Balumkano Magongwa says that De Ligt is fast. Mate, how slow are you? He ain't fast. De Ligt is a lot of things, but he ain't fast. I'm not saying he's donkey slow, but he ain't fast. He's no Varane. He's no Van Dijk. He's not a fast centre back by any means. I would ask for Bernardeschi, says Adil Chana. And De Ligt is fast. He's not fast. I'm telling you, he's not fast. As centre-backs go, I would say at best he's average speed, but he ain't fast. What you need next to Harry Maguire is fast. You need, like, Twan Sebi. You need Eric Bailly. You need, I'd say De Ligt is about as quick as Lindelof. They're not slow, but they're not fast. What Harry Maguire needs next to him is speed. It's a bit like Vidic and Rio. You've got the speed of Rio, you've got the tenacity of Vidic, and that's why it works well. I think Harry Maguire needs a quick player. Maguire and De Ligt, a load of people would say, what a great centre-back pairing. I'd say, well, you know what? A quick striker might not even be that good, but he could get some change out of them. Stephen Campbell says that, "Hi Mark, love the channel. Have you looked at Konrad Lemar, centre defensive midfielder from Leipzig? Could be perfect to play with Bruno and Pogba, much cheaper than Ndidi." I haven't seen loads of him, mate, but what I would say is that it doesn't have to be Ndidi, it doesn't have to be Partey. That type of a CDM is what we need, and I'm always a big fan of going and finding the next Ndidi, the next Partey. I said it when we were talking about sacking Solskjaer. Getting Pochettino's great, but how about going and getting the next Pochettino? I'd like to see United doing more of that. We did it with Wan-Bissaka. You go and get the player that's ready to make the move to the big club rather than taking the player from the big club. If we do sign him, do you think Lindelof will go? Says Spike MNG. I don't know. I've got to be very careful about Lindelof because we are living on a lockdown and I'm doing a Manchester United career mode at the moment, and tomorrow I'm in the Europa League final and I've got 2 games to get in the top 4. I'm very engaged in it, and anybody who's watching it is very engaged on it. You can see it on Mark Goldbridge, That's Football. But I'm so engaged on it, and we're so deprived of real life football, I'm starting to judge United players on that, because that's what I'm playing a lot of, and Lindelof's been brilliant. But that's not real life. So I have to be a little bit careful about some of my players, because I'm playing career mode and we're not getting real life. So Lindelof in real life, I think he's a steady centre-back. I think if Eric Bailly stays fit, he's the first choice centre-back. Upamecano's a player I would like to bring in. You do need 4 top centre-backs, to be honest with you. This window, we might only do the Sancho deal, says Karita Janga. But I'd be happy with that. I would be happy with that. De Ligt and Axel would make great pairing, just inexperience with Axel, and who knows if De Ligt can adapt to the Premier League, says Mirad Gemedy. I'm not getting into this. De Ligt is not very, very fast. He's not fast. That's the bottom line. Goldbridge, he ain't fast. I'm not having that De Ligt is a fast centre-back, because he's not. I've seen De Ligt play many a time, and he ain't fast. You put De Ligt in a sprinting race with Axel Twansibi, Virgil van Dijk, and Eric Bailly, and he'll come last. 100% he will come last. by about 5 yards over 100 metres. Extras E. He did play with us in the summer, but we are planning to sell a few centre-backs, so I'll take him any day of the week, says Extras E. Look, you know what? I think there's better centre-backs than Ligt as well. I would take Upamecano over him every day, and he's going to be cheaper, and I think he suits us better. And there's probably 4 or 5 other centre-backs I'd take, because in my mind, I don't really want a centre-back, by the way, but if I'm going for a centre-back, one of the key attributes I'm looking for is speed. I think we need speed. Harry Maguire's not going anywhere. I don't want him to go anywhere. He's our captain. He's done very, very good. But I think every time you put Harry Maguire next to somebody who's quick, you've got a better centre-back pairing. I think if you put the problem with Harry Maguire and Lindelof is they can get done for pace. Whereas if you've got a centre-back that can't get done for pace, a centre-back is a pairing. It's always been a pairing. And, you know, I even think about Sol Campbell and Rio Ferdinand in the World Cup in 2002. They were a brilliant centre-back pairing because they were both quick and they complemented each other well. Campbell was more of a, you know, big, bulky centre-back. Ferdinand had more flair, but they were both quick. And a centre-back pairing should work. They should never... I mean, if you can have the complete centre-back on the left and on the right, if you had 2 Virgil van Dijks, great. But actually, if you had Van Dijk and a Vidic, you've got a brilliant pairing. If you've got Vidic and a Ferdinand, you've got a great pairing. He'd rather play with Ronaldo than for Zidane, in my opinion, says Muzzy Lions. And Jonathan Matthews says, we already have Bailly perfect next to Maguire. Prolonged time off should do wonders for Bailly. I'd take Ligt and 50 million money for Grealish, says Jonathan Matthews. Well, look, I think Eric Bailly is the big hope for Manchester United, isn't he? Eric Bailly is the player that we want to play at the back with Harry Maguire. I'd say Eric Bailly's position is quite similar to Ollie's in many ways. That I think ideally we want Ollie to be the manager and we want Eric Bailly to be the centre back, but nobody would put any money on it because you just don't trust Eric Bailly to not get injured, and you just don't know whether Ollie is actually good enough to be a Manchester United manager that wins titles. But we live in hope. From 0 to 10, your honest thought of us getting Sancho, says Extras E. I'm not going to go back on what I said this morning. I think that if this was 2 months ago and this pandemic had never happened, I'd be 8 out of 10 at this point from what we're hearing. But because of the pandemic, I'd drop it down to 50-50. I think he wants to come to United. I think United want him. I think Dortmund would sell. But the problem is there is a massive financial crisis. You've got teams like Spurs today laying off staff. And talking about the transfer market's not going to be the way people think it is. We've got owners that don't like to spend money. Is this not the perfect opportunity for them to say, well, we wanted to do business but we can't do it because we've lost a load of money? That's what concerns me. We might see United signing nobody because they don't want to do it. And also De Ligt is about as fast as I am and I'm on a wheelchair, mate, says Adam Zenicola. And Mojo says, Mark, I believe there will be more swap deals this summer given how the financial matters will be because of lockdowns everywhere. And if it's a swap deal with Pogba with someone, how would it be if we got Dybala and not De Ligt, says Mojo. And Fitness and Scripture Shrathkamath says, we don't need a centre-back. If we are lacking there, we can use Shaw. We need to strengthen the midfield and forward. We struggle to score goals. So for me, it's a big no with De Ligt. And I didn't expect we would be talking about De Ligt, but it has sort of hit the stories tonight about Manchester United and him. As I said, no swap with Pogba. Doesn't make any sense to lose a midfielder for a centre-back that I genuinely don't think we need. I think he's too similar to Harry Maguire and we need somebody who's quick, and De Ligt isn't. I think the price would be prohibitive. You'd also have to give a big fat chunk to Mino Raiola, which just makes me, not want to do it, to be honest with you. Sancho is worth £100 million according to Fabrizio, says Riff MU. And nobody knows how the market will be, says Paul Robinson. It's going to be a new landscape, which it is going to be. I mean, just to bring in Grealish here. This is what I was talking about at the start of the show, and I just want to give you a couple of shout outs as well. We've got DT on the show tomorrow, lunchtime. We know we're doing these interviews at 1 o'clock. We had the Flex and Rants today. Robbie was on yesterday. I've got Chris from Redmen TV on Friday talking about the Liverpool situation, and I think we've got Darren Bent on Thursday with Flex. So lots of these 1 o'clock shows, which are great. Me and DT tomorrow at 1 o'clock again. Also Thursday night at this time we are doing the United Stand quiz, which Drawty's working very, very hard on. And that doesn't sound right. Drawty's working very hard on. He hasn't got one of those, and he will be the quizmaster. And his first 3 contestants are going to be me, Flex and Rance. So I won't be the person in the chair smugly reading out the answers. I will be actually part of this quiz on Thursday night at 8 o'clock. So looking forward to that. And it's going to be a bit of a pub quiz. It will be about United. It will be about football, but there'll also be some general knowledge in there. So it's going to be a good show on Thursday night. So make sure you got your pen and paper ready. I've heard there's over 50 questions, so it's going to be a good one, and looking forward to that. But look, back on with the show. Please do smash a like on the video. So what I was talking about at the start of the video, and I want to get into your questions today as well. What I want to talk about, first of all, though, is that remember in February, there was a story going round that United wanted to get the Grealish deal done before the March internationals because they expected Grealish to play for England, then to get picked for the Euros, which would see his price increase. Now, it got me thinking, because you can't be hypocritical about this. I've said this so many times, and so many of you have as well. Transfers don't just get sorted at the end of the season. They're worked on during the season. What if Manchester United have been working on a Grealish transfer for a while and actually have something in place with Aston Villa already? Does what's happened with Grealish now stop that, or has the ball rolled too far ahead? You just don't know. So there may well be already significant progression on a Grealish to Manchester United transfer. And what I would say is, before this pandemic and before what Pratt's Grealish did at the weekend, because I think we all know he's a Pratt, and I think he knows he's a Pratt, but before that and before this pandemic, I would have said what I've been saying before. I would take Grealish over Maddison or anybody else. So, you know, I don't necessarily think... I think the world we live in at the moment is a very weird world, and we all know that. But it doesn't mean that we're not going to sign Grealish because of what happened, because there may well have been some development on that already. But that also goes away from Grealish. That also goes for Sancho. I think, you know, there's probably been a lot of work done on that already. The question's going to be whether the Glazers continue to fund that work, or they just say, no, everyone else, we're just going to have to not do anything. Domis123 says, hey again, Mark, certain clubs will have to sell this summer to avoid bankruptcy. Can you think of any teams and all players that fit that criteria? Well, look, you could speculate that there might be some bargains to be had this summer because some people need to sell to survive. But we might be one of those clubs that says we're not even going to spend to survive. We're just going to keep what we've got and get by. I mean, look, you know, this is why paying people like Jesse Lingard 100 grand a week, Juan Mata 140 grand a week. It's great when the money's thrown in, but when you've got to tighten your belt, you're paying 300, 400, 500 grand a week to players that really you don't need anymore. So, and they are taking up space and wages that could be used elsewhere. So, Man United have got a very big squad, but they've got very big revenues. When them revenues drop, can you afford to add to that big squad? Interesting times ahead. I mean, I watched the Flex and Rant show at lunchtime, and I was quite surprised really that Rance was saying that I think there's a player in Jesse Lingard and you'd like to see him stay. And I just thought, you know what? It ain't Lingard hate. I've got nothing against Lingard. He seems like a nice lad, but he's had more lives than a cat. Like, he's had a year of chances under Solskjaer. Angel Gomez has barely had a chance. I don't get it. I think Lingard's, for his own good, needs to move on. I don't want Lingard at United anymore. I don't even want him to have another chance. I think he's had so many chances. It irritates me. It really does. I think people like that need to be moved on and go and build their career elsewhere, because Manchester United's not a charity. Manchester United should be looking at bringing in top quality players or giving some of our youth players a go. I think Lingard needs to be gone. And I don't think he justifies the wage or a place in the squad anymore. And I certainly don't think he deserves another chance. I mean, the worst thing that can happen with Lingard is we come back, he scores a couple of goals in a couple of games, and then we've got to give him another year of chances when we just know he's not good enough. I don't think, as Ricky said the other day, I don't even think Lingard will justify a place on the bench very, very soon. So we do need to clear spaces in the squad. And, you know, just because Lingard gets on with Jadon Sancho, and Marcus Rashford, that's not enough reason to keep him. Not enough reason at all. As I say, we're not a charity. Does City really have a buyback clause on Sancho, says Right to Respect? No, they don't. They don't have a buyback clause. They have what we've got with Memphis Depay. So with Memphis Depay, we've got first refusal. We haven't got a buyback clause. We've got first refusal. A buyback clause means that you can buy them back for a certain amount of money. First refusal means you can buy them back if you match the bid that the club accepts. So in the case of Jadon Sancho, if United offer 100 million... Dortmund are duty bound to tell Man City that United have offered 100 million, and then Man City offer the 100 million. And if the player wants to go to Man City, then Dortmund have to sell him to Man City. But the player has to want to go to Man City. And if the player says, I don't want to come to you, then it's not going to happen. So a buyback clause means that you have a fee that's agreed, etc. A first refusal means that, again, with Memphis Depay, if Liverpool offer 50 million for Memphis Depay, then Lyon have to tell us, and if we offer 50 million, then he's got to come to us if he wants to come to us. But we have that I suppose it's exclusivity. If somebody offers for them, then the club have to give us an opportunity to offer as well. But it all depends if the player wants to come as well. Lingard has had plenty of chances. Let him go, says Lynn Hall. It's whether he wants to go, though, isn't it? We don't have a buyback clause with Memphis Depay, Alan, for the reason I've just said there. A buyback clause is an established fee. That's not what we've got with Memphis Depay. We've got a first refusal on Memphis Depay. Why don't we try to get Adama and Neves, says Brian Tellers. I think it's quite difficult to get players out of Wolves, to be honest. I mean, I like Jimenez, Neves and Traore would solve a few problems for Manchester United, wouldn't they? Mojo says Lingard, Rojo, Jones have run their course and need to be moved on, and Roma is interested in signing Smalling. What happens with Pereira and Sanchez is anybody's guess. Well, look, you've just listed a few players there that are problematic. Phil Jones might be on as much as 80 grand a week. Marcus Rojo, probably on about 80 grand a week. Lingard, probably on about 100 grand a week. That's 3 players there in a financial crisis that nobody are going to touch with a barge pole. Not on them wages. People aren't going to pay somebody those wages, and especially if they've got eyes. You know, you're not going to buy Phil Jones and give him 80 grand a week. They know what he's like as a player. I think in the time when football was flush with money, somebody would do it. But in this new world, I think we're stuck with Jones, we're stuck with Rojo, we're stuck with Lingard, and we're definitely stuck with Sanchez and Pereira. So that's 5 players straight away we're stuck paying over 750 grand a week on, because Sanchez is on 400 grand a week, and then you add the others to it. So it's problematic for United, and this is why there's still a legacy of Woodward and his recruitment over the last 6 years, because we've still got a lot of crap on a lot of money in a financial crisis that's going to hurt us. But you know that we all know that it's not breaking news. I saw Ole Gunnar Solskjaer today, and I personally didn't see him. I saw him on a hangout on MUTV. He was pretty boring, really, because apart from just seeing them, which is nice, they're not asked anything. You know, it's bloody it's the MUTV presenter interviewing him. He'll bloody wipe his arse for him if he asked. I mean, the questions are just Mr. Basic, you know, what's your favourite colour and all that, which is what you're going to get off an MUTV. But one of the things I did find interesting, he was asked about, you know, are you prepared if the season comes back? And Ollie said, look, we've got WhatsApp groups, and we're interacting with each other, but and we're ready to come back when we're needed to come back. But at the moment, we're just bound by whatever the bigger picture is, which is true. So, you know, nothing really from Ollie. I think we're going to see this changing day to day. I mean, somebody said to me today that the Bundesliga will be back first. They're determined to get their league done by June the 30th because of the financial implications, and they'll do it behind closed doors, and a lot of the clubs are already training in pairs and stuff. And the Bundesliga and Germany is doing massive amount of testing in their country, so they feel that they can get things back to normal quicker because they're going to have a bit of grip on, you know, just how many cases they've got in their country. So be interesting to see what happens with that. Very interesting thing I read about Robin van Persie today that some of you might be interested in. So we always suspected this, but Van Persie said Sir Alex Ferguson's retirement really hit him, because when he signed for Sir Alex, he said to him, how many years more are you going to do? And he said, I'll be here for the next 3 years. And Van Persie got 1 year and a title out of it. And he said, you know, at the end of the day, that's football. Coaches come and go. Some of them are sacked. Some of them retire. But he said, you know, not even Ryan Giggs, who was really close to Sir Alex, knew that was going to happen. It was a shock to all of us. And I think, you know, we saw that. I mean, I always felt for Van Persie, because he came to us that season. He was the reason we won the 20th title. He was absolutely brilliant that season. World class. Sir Alex Ferguson retired, and then he's got Moyes telling him to bloody, you know, running up and down. I don't know what Moyes told him, but Robin van Persie dropped off a cliff after that first season, really. And I think he probably felt, I don't think he felt cheated because he got something out of that year that he never got at Arsenal. But he was, I think it just shows you that there was the expectation that Sir Alex would stay longer, and nobody begrudges Sir Alex going. We know why he went, but imagine if we had got another 2 years out of Sir Alex after that first year with Van Persie. I think we would have won the title a couple more times, because everybody says that Sir Alex left David Moyes with an ageing team, but I guarantee you we would have won the title again if Sir Alex was in charge. He was the master at it. One of your critics against Ole Gunnar Solskjaer last year was that he spent a lot of time discussing with coaches during the game. You think he's improved since then, says Andreas Storfrick. I think, look, Andreas and everybody else, and I'll start taking some of your questions. Please do smash a like on the video and share the video if you are watching. Let's see if we can get 1,000 likes while we're watching. I'm going to start taking some of your questions. I think there is an improvement in in Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. I think he's taken things on board, and I think you have to. Look, I'd be a liar if I said in the early days when people used to criticise me, as long as it wasn't trolls about Forest fan or something like that, because that's bollocks. But sometimes people would say things and I'd take it on board and go, maybe I do blab on about that. Maybe I should move it. That you do take it on board, and I think if you want to be a good leader, then you've got to take bits from different places. And if you're an inexperienced leader, then you've got to establish yourself. And I think we've seen from Ollie over this year that he has started to be on the touchline a little bit more, that he has, expressed himself a little bit more. It's panto to a certain extent. We said the same about Mourinho. United fans, because we're used to it under Sir Alex, we want to see a bit of drama. We want to see a bit of passion. And it might not be you. It might not be you. I've seen managers, I've seen leaders in my life who are just very pragmatic, very laid back, and they, in the highest highs and the lowest lows, they don't really give off how they're feeling. Although inside, they're as passionate as anybody else. But I think at Manchester United, I don't think you can just say, I'm not that sort of manager that is on the touchline going mad. I think you've got to be that manager, because I think the crowd react to it. I remember when we got knocked out by Real Madrid after that injustice red card for Nani in Sir Alex Ferguson's last season, and I think we would have won the Champions League, but we got Nani sent off and Real Madrid went on and won it. Sir Alex was on the side touchlines getting the crowd up. Ultimately we didn't win, but you get a crowd up, it can get the opposition down and it can get your team up. So it is pantomime. Sometimes being a manager is pantomime. You play to the crowd to get the crowd going, which gets the players going, and players respond to it as well. So I think Ollie's got to start taking that on board, and I think he has done. What's going to happen with Sanchez? We're wasting money on him, says Ugan Shetty. I think there are... I think we steer away from negative things at the moment because we're trying to be, quite rightly, a united human race, and we're trying to prop each other up and be nice to each other, and I think that's one of the big positives. When we had the NHS doctor on last night on the call-in, this is real positive stuff. If we want to go into the football world, there are things that still concern me about Manchester United. None more so than Alexis Sanchez. I think that he is a major issue at the football club. I don't think he wants to be at the club. I think Woodward made an absolute disastrous mistake by giving him that money. I would have sacked whoever scouted Sanchez by now. You speak to Arsenal fans and they were like, it was obvious Sanchez was on the decline and you went and bought him. You're a bunch of prats, basically. Who scouted Alexis Sanchez? They shouldn't be at the club anymore. Who sanctioned making him the best paid player in the Premier League? For what? Based on what? At that time, you had people like De Bruyne. You had people like Hazard, Aguero. Clear, consistent, world-class performers. And somebody at United decided Alexis Sanchez was worth more money than them. It was a ridiculous decision, and we will be stuck with Sanchez for a very long time. And that is a problem for Ollie. And I sympathise with Solskjaer because people say, I'll stick him in the reserves. You don't know what his contract's got in it. I always thought, go back to Sanchez coming in, Martial was playing well on the left wing. Sanchez went on the left wing. Rashford was playing well on the left wing. Every time Sanchez has played for United, he's normally on the left wing. I suspect there's something in his contract. And what if there's something in his contract that if he's at the club and he's not on loan, he's got to start a certain amount of games? You just don't know how... the contract's bad enough, what we pay him and how long it is, but what if there's clauses in his contract about how many games he has to play? It could be a real issue. I think they're going to have to try and loan him. And I think if he's loaned and was paying his wages, so what? At least he's not here. The reason we got Moyes is because of Sir Alex, says Reddy HD. Yeah, look, you know what? Sir Alex Ferguson, greatest sports manager there's ever been. Absolute legend, but human being as well. Everybody makes mistakes. And Sir Alex Ferguson, like the great Frank Sinatra once sang, mistakes, I've made a few. Jemba, Kleberson, Bellion, Beppe, David Moyes. He's made plenty of mistakes, and he's also made some of the greatest decisions football's ever seen. We're all human, and we're all capable of mistakes. Would you take Zakaria from Mönchengladbach? He can play centre back and CDM. So Snoopy's. Yes, I would. I like him. I do like him. Mojo says, what on earth and why on earth did we swap Mkhitaryan with Sanchez? Madness. Mkhitaryan was brilliant for us, scored in the Europa final for us. See, I don't agree with you on that, Mojo. I mean, I'd had enough of Mkhitaryan as well. I think he didn't pull up any trees at Arsenal, did he? I think Mkhitaryan was a little bit like Kagawa, really good player, but what's he doing now? And suited the German league absolutely perfectly. Didn't do great at Man United, didn't do great at Arsenal. Do you think that it's a good idea to sign Bellingham and loan him to Dortmund for Sancho to surely come, says Score 70? I would do that. But I think Dortmund might win the race without us having to loan to him. Kuzel says that Upamecano and Axel would be the dream for me, or even Bay and Axel. Bay as Vidic and Axel as Ferdinand. What do you think about this? Also, why did Sir Alex Ferguson leave? Sir Alex Ferguson left because his wife's sister, who she was very close to, died. And Sir Alex Ferguson basically had a chat with her, and she was like, I would like you to retire so that I've got some company. And he said, look, I've given so much to football and you've always supported me, and now it's my time to support you. Romantic. You can't fault the guy. Selfishly, I wish he'd carried on, but, you know, can you be that selfish when he gave us all those years? Do you think it's I've read that one. That's my worry with Sancho, Kagawa and Mkhitaryan, says Mawada. I think the difference with Sancho is he's 19, he's English, he knows the English game, and he went to Germany to progress. He's not Kagawa, and he's not Mkhitaryan. I think Jadon Sancho will be a fantastic. I think he'll be better in the Premier League than he is in the Bundesliga. I think he's better suited to it. Michael Jones says Pogba's not consistent enough. If we're keeping Lingard means keeping Rashford, would you keep him, says Mickey Tesfar. Well, I would question why Marcus Rashford needs his mate to stay for him to stay. So I would say if keeping Lingard means keeping Rashford, I would say, Marcus, what are you doing? You know, this is your career at Manchester United. Who do you care more about? But in a hypothetical sense, I would keep Lingard to keep Rashford. Yes, of course I would. Get either De Ligt or Dybala for Pogba, says Amazing Shirley. JT Music says Sancho is too good to flop. Get your questions coming in. I'm enjoying this. I haven't done this for a while. If you don't get Sancho, what about Leon Bailey, says Richard Plummer. I mean, Leon Bailey's a player we've mentioned on this channel quite a lot. He's good, but I'm going to hold my hands up here and say, with Leon Bailey, he was a player I sort of kept an eye on 2-3 years ago. And since he's gone to Germany, I haven't really kept an eye on him, to be honest. And I haven't really heard a lot about him. And I haven't really heard a lot of clubs being in for him. So I would have to be a little bit shallow and say, is he hitting the heights I thought he was going to do? Or is it the fact that I've just not been watching him that much, and actually he is still a really good player that could be a Manchester United player? I don't know. Jeremy Soutdar says there are rumours of James Maddison coming to United because of the Grealish situation. But you know what? You know what? James Maddison might be as idiotic as Grealish has been. He's just not been caught for it. I mean, I'm very annoyed with what Grealish did, and I think most of the country is, but second chances are fine. I haven't got a problem with second chances, and just because Grealish got caught out doesn't mean that James Maddison hasn't done it and not get caught. I mean, we can't just suddenly all go, oh, Grealish is a dickhead, Maddison's the perfect person we need. I mean, maybe Maddison does have a great personality, but I'm not going to judge. I'm not going to go from Grealish to Maddison because I think Maddison's now got a better personality than Grealish. I think Grealish has made a massive mistake, as I said last night. You know, it could be defining for him. Or coming to United could be bad for him. I don't know. But I think Maddison's always going to be a difficult deal to do because of what we paid for Maguire. If you pay £80 million for a centre-back, that same club, you go back for their attacking midfielder. They ain't going to let you have him for anything less than 80 million, are they? And I think Maddison's price prohibitive, to be honest. Do you think Sir Alex recommended Moyes because he built teams on paper than budgets, which Sir Alex probably saw was the way it will be under the Glazers? Mojo, I think you probably made a very good point there. I still think, judging them on players, I think Maddison's a fantastic player. I think Grealish is a fantastic player. And for the reason, taking away the weekend, taking away the emotion, I'll go back to the footballing reasons that I would have took Grealish over Maddison, because what Grealish has done in a worse team, and he's more of a leader, and he would have been cheaper, I think it made more sense for United to go for that. But there are question marks now, of course. What do you think of Decore, Mark? Would you take him at United? Says Alicia. I do like Decore at Watford, but I'm going to be absolutely honest and say, and people will have heard me say this, there's something about his playing style that I just don't like. I find it a bit languid. I find it more languid than Pogba. And I don't think Pogba is languid. And when I say languid, I just think it's just, he's, you know, it's not body physics. I always use the word body physics. A football... I think, you know, like Crufts, with dogs, or even horse racing or whatever, the way a player holds themselves and moves, like, you think about when you used to play football at school. There'd be people who were really good at football, people who were okay, and some people who were in your class who were good mates but actually were crap at football. They just don't have the body dynamics to play football. They're just awful. And Decore is a top-level footballer, of course, but there's just something about the way his body moves that I don't think I'd find that attractive in a United team. So for me, that's always been my issue with Decore. I just don't... There's just something about the way he moves, the way he runs, the way he is on the ball that just doesn't look like a sort of player I would have at Manchester United. Whereas you look at somebody like an Ndidi, you look at somebody like a Partey, you look at somebody like a Verratti, and you just think, yeah, they're going to own it. Since all the squad will be fit when football starts again, there will be no reason for Ollie not to play the attacking 4-3-3 with one holding midfielder, says Sumyadip Bajal. I don't think he will, though, mate. Jacob Walters says, don't compare dogs to top players. That's not what I'm doing, as you know. And Leicester want 80 million for Chilwell, says Vlogfam. Well, they're quite within their rights to want 80 million for Chilwell because they got 80 million for Harry Maguire. Hopefully we get the triple J. Jadon Sancho, Jude Bellingham and Jack Grealish, says Mujahad Hassan. I think the only way that happens is if Pogba goes. VK Dean says, Decore is a bit gangly, but he can play. Yeah, look, I think Decore is a good player. I said that at the start, but just on the eye, I don't like his style. And I think that's, you know, it's unfortunate in many ways. I think Jordan Henderson's done really well because I think Jordan Henderson as a footballer and the way he moves, it isn't easy on the eye. And yet he was going to be the captain of the Premier League winners. For some reason, he was going to be player of the year. So there are players out there that just don't look like they move that well, but they are still very good players. And Decore could do a good job at United, but for me, I just don't like the way he moves. Mark, I heard Woodward hired a bunch of data analysts instead of hiring a director of football. Is it true? I don't know about that, Ali. I don't know about that. I know that Woodward is very, very adamant that he doesn't want to relinquish control, and that's why he doesn't want a director of football. Jan Stevens, what about if Pogba was swapped for Milinkovic-Savic? Well, I don't think he'd go to Lazio, so I don't think he would be a swap. But if we sold Pogba to bring Milinkovic-Savic in, I'd be amazed. I mean, a couple of years ago, I was a big fan of Milinkovic-Savic, and I think he would do well at Manchester United, but I don't think he's the sort of player that Ollie would be looking at. I think it was definitely a Mourinho signing there, so maybe he'll go to Spurs, but I don't see Milinkovic-Savic at United. Ratthink Wilson says, Mark, when do you really think the season will start again? Well, I think it's a changeable thing. So whack into the live comments. Just give us a date if you want, or give us a month. I think the season will start in June. Yeah, I do, and I know that will fill some people with hope, and it will fill some people with dread. But I think the season will be back in June, and I think we'll have it completed by mid-July. And I think we might start our season in mid-August and just have a month off. Because there's two reasons for that. One, when this season finishes, we don't need to then go and have 3 months off. We just don't. That's what we're doing now. We're having the summer break now. I've said this before. You think about it, the footballers have had 2 weeks off already. They're going to get all of April off. They're going to get 6 weeks off. 6 weeks off at least. They never get that in their lives. You know, even though Premier League football would have stopped in May and started in August, you would have had the Euros, you would have had the tour. So footballers never get this long off. So there's no reason for them to have a summer break. They don't need a summer break. And you can finish one season and start another one quite quickly. And I don't think clubs will be going on tour anyway. So you could finish one season, give them a month off and get them back. And I think they can do that. The issue here is safety. The issue here is what's going on in the wider world. A lot of people want to say we're not going to see football again till Christmas, we're not going to see it till September, but I've got my video going up on the Mark Goldbridge channel at 9 o'clock. Do give it a watch, because it's serious, and it's about some of the people I've been talking to over the last few days who are struggling. They're struggling with isolation. Some of them live on their own, some of them live in situations that they're not very happy with. This is going to fracture in a big way in the next coming weeks. You cannot keep people on lockdown like this for a long period of time, even though we might need to be. But more importantly, I think the things that are being put in place will work, and I think it's going to take a number of weeks for them to work. But I think once the curve starts coming down, I think then some of the restrictions will be lifted, and that might be schools reopening, whatever. I don't think we'll see Old Trafford with fans in it this side of September, but I do think we'll see Old Trafford with football in it in the summer. So I think we'll see football back in June. It will not surprise me if it's back in June, and I'm not confident that we won't see it back in June. But we've all got to adhere to what we're doing in our countries at the moment, and that is isolate and kill the spread of this virus. And if we do that, and everything else that's going on, then I think we will see sport back. And I think Bundesliga is going to be back even before that. Do you see something in Dan James? And if yes, what? Says Ready HD. I think I see in Dan James a very raw talent. I think I see a player that's grown up massively over the last year, from getting his dream move to losing his dad, to playing too many games, to having a great start to the season, to having a really bad run, to coming back and being really good recently. I think the real Dan James will come next season when he's had a year of this. We may even see the real Dan. I always said next season we'll see the real Dan James. If this season completes, we might see the real Dan James, because I think what Dan James needed was this whirlwind of move and play and dip in form and coming back, and then a mind break, and he'll have a mind break, he'll have a physical break, and I think when Dan James comes back, we'll see a different Dan James. So look, I don't think Dan James will be a first team legend for United, no way, I don't see that, but I think he can be a massively important player in the squad, and I think he'll get better. I don't think he's going to be, a Raheem Sterling or even a Mane or a Hazard, or I don't think he's going to be that sort of a quality player, but I think he can be a very, very good player for United. And how much money do you think we would need to be back competing for the title, says Ali? Money is so difficult to talk about now. We are a club that doesn't like to spend money in a time where there's a financial crisis. I don't know how Manchester United are going to deal with this. I would go as far as to say, if we just sign Sancho this summer, I'm happy, because we know what's going on in the wider world. But is that guaranteed? I think Sancho and Pogba stays, I'll take it. We're in a bloody global crisis, I will take that. But I don't even know if we'll get that. We're going to have to wait and see in the coming days and months. Look, everyone, thanks everyone for watching. Please do smash a like on the video. Subscribe if you're new. If you've not seen my FIFA career mode, give it a watch on That's Football. Tomorrow afternoon, I'll give it a shout out anyway. It's cup final day on that. Got some good content coming up for you tomorrow. DT's going to be on at lunchtime. Man United news in the morning as usual. 8 o'clock tomorrow night. And 9 o'clock on my channel, Mark Goldbridge. If you've never watched it, it's not football related, give it a watch. It's going up in about 10 minutes on the Mark Goldbridge channel. Thanks everyone for watching. Have a safe evening. I'll see you tomorrow, and keep doing what you're doing, because what you're doing counts. See you soon.